everybody. Welcome to the Unspoken Truth podcast, where the mission is to hear the story, to have the margarita conversation instead of the Diet Coke one, and to share the amazingness and superpower of every woman that comes on the podcast. My name is Paige Brown, certified leadership and shadow work coach, nationally certified counselor, and with over 16 years of experience in shadow work and self-sabotage. And today I'm joined by Tiffany Sims, who's freaking amazing. I met her. I love her. She's become a really good friend of mine. I met her in Florida only like 5 months ago.
That's a long time.
Jeez. But it was like, I know, but it feels like longer. Like it feels longer because like she's one of my like closest friends now. I love her. We freak out on each other in video messages, and she's so sweet and I love her. And you just like, I know that like I'm supposed to probably introduce you and tell people what you do.
No, I think those are the best kind of introductions because no one actually cares what you do. They care who you are.
That's true. And she's amazing and she lights up a room. And we bonded over my elephant necklace in Orlando. And I was on her podcast, so you can check that out. But now she's on mine. So she's actually the one that made me do this.
If you're an option, it was, hey, Paige, have you thought about this? I think it would be great.
I'm pretty sure it came off more aggressive than that.
More aggressively.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna tell you a little background information about this woman because I had just seen her. Well, no, I was about to see you the next week, I think, and I had been struggling to get leads for my women's group. Happens, and I was just like, I don't know how to find these people. And I had been complaining to Tiffany about it. And then I was in Las Vegas, which is 3 hours. Located on the East Coast in Virginia, and she is on the East Coast, and she wakes up, and I wake up and to like a barrage of text messages telling me to start a podcast to generate leads. And I was like, no, like I immediately was like, no. And she's like, all right, fine. If you don't want to do that, then you. And then but guys, it was because I hadn't woken up yet. I was literally like, I just rolled over to look at the time on my phone. And I saw like all these messages from and I was like, I'm not even awake right now. Like, what is happening? And then my brain turned on. And then I was like, oh, yeah, she has a point.
What I love about
so
this
maybe
story,
I should be doing this.
And I think it's such an important, there's like such a lesson in it too, though, Paige, because like, think about it. There was one conversation that anyone could go back to the text thread and see it, right? And there were two completely different experiences because when I sent the text,
yes,
like I felt like I had just solved world hunger. And I was so excited because all of a sudden I realized that I had unlocked something that I realized didn't only work for me, but would work for other people in different scenarios. Right. And so I was so excited and I had the whole vision in my head about how it was going to work out. And Paige, who was just waking up and was stuck in her own stuff about like where things were moving, right, had her own perception and interpretation of what I was sharing. And she was like, no, like podcast, like I hear you. Like she was trying to receive it and also like put it off. Because it was like, no, like I hear you, but like their podcasts are hard to get going. It takes time to grow an audience. And I was like, no. And I'm all excited to share about like the little twists that I had figured out in it. And she was just like, she knew what she knew and she was like set on it. And it took her time to like her brain to wake up and come back to the conversation from a different lens. And I think it's so fun because I also didn't take it personally. I was just like, okay, well, if it's not for you and you want to resist it, that's cool. Like, but I do think it would work for you, but it has to be yours. And so like, but that dynamic, like how often does that happen in life where we're having one conversation, someone else is having a completely different experience based off of their environment and what they're going through. And then sometimes we absorb that and we think it's about us and that we're rejecting us. And like, thank goodness I had done the work to know that what you were experiencing had nothing to do with me and that my intentions were pure and that they really could just die right there in that text message and it would have been okay. It didn't mean anything about our friendship. It didn't mean anything about my idea. And I think this is so, so cool. Not just for myself to be able to like recognize the growth that I have done over the last like 5 years, because that is not how that interaction would have gone. I would have absorbed it. I would have thought it was about me. And then like you were so worried about like having maybe hurt my feelings. And I was like, dude, we're good. I promise. Like I'm good. You're good.
Yeah, and I took that. Yeah, I was like, and I believed you when she said it. You were like, "No, we're good." I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, and then I remember messaging you like 3 days later, going like, "Okay, I posted the thing on Facebook, and now I have like a bunch of people signed up." And you're like, "Yay!"
Yes, let's
So,
win.
but it was
People need this.
but here's the thing though too, and I will say this. I know that you were like just the last of many people to tell me to do a podcast. And I over probably 3 years, right? Because I've done a lot of podcasts. I've been on a lot of podcasts, and I've done a lot of and you were like the one though that was like the most determined to get me to do a podcast. But I will say this, so it's funny that this is, well, it's not funny. It's always intentional. It's always purposeful. But for like the universe and all the things aligning. But I was talking to my mentor earlier in the week, and we were talking about the stories that we tell ourselves, right? So there's like good stories, like what is like, our empowerment and positivity and all these things. But then it's like the bad stories, which is like the excuses that we try to defer, right? So the story that I was telling myself was like, well, podcasting's hard, and podcasting takes time to get leads, and podcasting takes a really long time to get together, and I have to have all the things like lined up before I actually do anything. Like, and that was the stuff I was telling you. Like, I was like, no, this is going to take X, Y, and Z and all these things. And then I think what happened in my brain, because I was like my sleep brain, and then when I was waking up, I was like, that's actually a bunch of bullshit that I just fed myself. Why the hell am I doing that? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And I literally was like, that was like my sleep brain. And then like, oh, awake brain's going like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you taking this like this
your
path
sleep
that's
brain
not
wasn't wrong for the lens at which you were looking at it through. Right?
Yes.
And the lenses and the sunglasses I was wearing in this moment, and maybe my conviction was so potent because like I literally realized that I was like this lead generating ninja, and I just wanted everyone, because I had struggled so hard with this one topic, I just wanted everyone around me who was also struggling to like maybe win. Like maybe it was the secret piece that they were also missing, and like by me sharing it, it like unlocked all the wins that they had been waiting for. And so like I was just so excited because I was so also like mind blown that I had like built this system that unintentionally, and that it was doing what it was doing because it was all accident. It was all by accident. But you weren't wrong. Podcasting for like traditional lead generation, like that is a slow, gradual, methodical, involved process. But so I think that is such a good life story though. And so like if you're not into business, like I'm glad you're still sticking around. Thanks for being here. Hi, I'm Tiffany. But there's a lesson in that story, which is like we do that so often. That is like the story of life. Every time we get faced with something, we have our stories that we know to be true. We have the sunglasses on, and that's all we can see. And we can either choose to leave those sunglasses on, or maybe take the recommendation when our friend says like, no, these sunglasses are going to look so good on you, and just try them on to see like how it works with your outfit. And if you like the way it makes your face look, and if it matches all the things, and if it's the vibe you're looking for. And I think it's just such a good metaphor and example of just like the everyday life stuff as we're moving through life.
Well, and I think absolutely. And I would say, yes, if you're not into business, like this stuff can be applied everywhere. Like it doesn't matter if you're into business or not. This is about like choosing to either go to the pool or the beach that day. I mean, I really think that like you can even, boil it down to that. But like, it's also one of those things of forgiving yourself if you've done these things or had these conversations to yourself of like, no, I can't. It's probably because you weren't ready to receive that yet either. Like, because like I said, I've had these podcasting conversations for 3 years. And then all of a sudden they're like, you need to do the freaking podcast. And I was like, and it just took like 1,000,001 of Tiffany saying like, do it. But it's also about how is it presented to you, right? Like, you might try like, I don't know. I'm going to use Brussels sprouts as an
I just had
example
some
because my
amazing
son
Brussels
hates
sprouts
Brussels
for dinner the other night. They were so good.
I love Brussels sprouts, but I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I hated them.
I thought they were
I didn't want to
baby
eat them. I
cabbages. I
hated
loved
them.
them as a kid.
And so they're adorable. And they like, that's why I eat like freaking broccoli, because it's like they're baby trees. Like, I loved those things when I was little. But I hated Brussels sprouts because my mom didn't really know how to cook when I was growing up. And so it's just like steamed, no flavor. It's like, it's not very, I'll say they're not bad on their own, but they're not fantastic, out of this world, amazing, right? But then if you put the right seasoning on it and a lot of the floofiness, then like all of a sudden they become like, oh, and you want to eat all of them, like I did on Christmas Eve because they had bacon and honey on them. Ate the whole plate. Anyway, by myself. I'm gonna claim it. But my son hates Brussels sprouts, right? Doesn't matter how it's seasoned because he's not ready to have them yet. Like, but I literally hate it, so I think it's like we can use the food analogy too. But I just feel like there's so many. So I'm going to go back for a second because I feel like my brain jumped ahead because I love you and we know everything about each other. I feel like now, but Tiffany is a coach. This is why we're just jumping into this conversation. And she's running the Modern Women's Society, and you're doing podcasting. And are you coaching people on how to do podcasting now? Like, is that what you're doing now? Like, what, or not podcasting in general, but just like the lead.
Yeah. So hi,
part
Tiffany Sims. And the way we started this conversation is literally the purest example of who I am as a human. Like, I don't care about formalities. I don't care about your titles. Like, I want to know who you are. I want to know your soul. I want to know how it sparkles. I want to know what brings you joy and what lights you up and how you prefer to spend your days. And then we can talk about what you do. Like, of course, like we can do that. It's part of you. But like, I want to know who you are. And so like, I can jump into the middle of a conversation with almost anyone if the vibes are good. And so like that is literally, we just truly introduced the core of who I was the way we kicked this off. And so as Paige said,
No, but I love that though. And that's so true. And it's literally something that I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with it. Cause I am one of those people that wants to get to like, that's why I say I want to have a margarita conversation. I do not care if you have 2.5 kids or whatever. I really do. I mean, I do. Them. I love kids. Yes. But I want to know who you are first. It's like, but it took me, I just remember, and I know we're backpedaling, we're jumping all over the place, but I will say this. That is literally how we have conversations. It's like all over the place. So, but Tiffany and I, when we came in, when I met her, I was only taken aback because I met somebody who was like me, who didn't really care about. I went to Orlando for what I was told is a business networking opportunity, right? I walk in the house knowing nobody, and I meet Tiffany. And Tiffany
who also knew, so
I'm prepared to go like,
I knew no one.
Yeah. I didn't know that though. So that was the thing though, is like, I didn't know that at the time, right? So I'm walking in though, but I'm fully prepared in the brain space of walking into a networking conversation, right? Because I have been to hundreds of networking events, and I'm sitting here like, okay, turn the networking brain on, and I'm walking into the freaking house, and I was so floored and confused because the first conversation I had was with Tiffany, and Tiffany's like, oh, I want to talk about your necklace. And that was literally the beginning of the conversation. And I was just like, well, first of all, it was, who are you? Like, in terms of like, what's your name? And then tell me the story about this necklace that I had, which was this elephant necklace, which I'm doing a separate podcast on that whole situation. So you guys will hear that. But I was just like, that was so cool to me, but it only threw me off because my brain was clicked into a different space. And I think that is exactly what we're talking about, is like where your brain is versus your body versus, holistically everything. And that was like where I felt like when I had this podcast conversation with you, I was out here in my brain, out of my body. And then it's like, okay, come back in the body. What actually do you want, right? Like, so that's the conversation that I like to have, and these are the things that I used to not acknowledge,
Yeah.
without doing all the personal growth. I used to stay out here, which is normal. And if that's you right now, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, I overthink and I'm way into my mental space, and I overprocess and I overanalyze, and okay, cool. Like, that's like 90% of the world. Like, we all do that, like, at some point. And I still have to catch myself because we're brought up in a society that teaches us to do that, to teaches us how to, like, show up. This is the protocol for this, is the protocol for this, is the protocol for this. And it's like, no, it really, there is no, the rules are made
The
up.
rules are made
The
up,
rules are made
and
up, and you can actually do what you want.
at the same time, I have a slightly different take on it. And I just like the rules are made up, but sometimes you have to understand how everyone else plays the game in order to play the game to your advantage and like to make it work for you, right? Because I don't think that if we completely
Mm-hmm.
like get rid of all the rules and from like and we don't teach where the bumper guards are for how the rest of the world is going to interact with us, I think we're actually going to set this next generation up for complete implosion because they're not going to know truly how like to how they fit into a bigger picture. And I know that there's someone being like, but it doesn't matter because they're supposed to be true and authentic to themselves. I'm not saying they're not supposed to, but there are societal boundaries. Like we can push them, we can remove
Oh yeah,
ourselves
I
from them,
agree.
but you have to understand them to some level in order to understand how you want to work with them, or around them, or outside of them to get where you're going. And so there's a lot of things that I could say, like, oh, my parents never taught me that, or I wasn't exposed to this. But the fact that I wasn't exposed to it led me to a series of choices that I made to become this person right now. And everyone wants to be the finish line person. And it's like you don't get to the finish line without first learning how to stretch. I've run a lot of miles. I've run over 250 miles through Disney World alone. But I would have never gotten there had I never learned how to tie my shoes properly, had I never learned how to take the first step and how to like string steps together. And so I didn't know I was passionate about this page until this exact moment. But I think that we are doing the world a disservice because we're expecting to birth finish line children because we're trying to save them from all the heartache we have. And like, I think there's a gift in evolution. And I think there's a gift in sharing our learned knowledge and doing things a little differently. And at the end of the day, if we don't recognize that there are some things you don't learn until you experience, we're going to have a whole lot of kids who aren't going to understand how to problem solve, how to come up with solutions, how to recognize discomfort in their bodies and what to do with it because we eliminated all the discomfort. But I think there's such skills and lessons to be learned in teaching people how to move through discomfort and how to identify it and how to make decisions about if they want to go right or left now that they're here. Um, did that land at all?
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I agree with you because I totally agree with you. And I think my perspective is take the rules, like, as you're a child, yes, you have to learn with all of these processes, and I would say grow through pain, because yes, I've learned to appreciate my pain. Like, I mean, because everybody has pain, and I think too, like, yes, there's gonna be some people listening to this is like, but if we could spare them the pain, shouldn't we?
Why we're all in
And I really
business.
don't think
Like
so.
there is a yes and.
Yes, but but it's like, I want, like, as my, like, because I have a 9-year-old, right? Like, it's like, I don't want him to experience pain. Like, I would never want that for him, but he's going to anyway, because, like, that's just the way life is, right? And so I do believe that we do have a generation right now
We're
that
officially
is
old
struggling with
people.
this, because, I mean,
We
we
are. We
are.
now
I
sound like the
literally,
boomers.
okay,
Look at us now.
tangent achieved right now, unlocked in my brain. Tangent is that I recognized the other day that we are now I can't remember
40.
exactly how old you are, but I am now you're 40. Okay, yeah, 40, 41. We are now the same age as the Golden Girls on the Golden Girls show. And I was like, I don't feel like I look that old though. Like, but that's what they portrayed. And then I went to see Mamma Mia last weekend in the theater, and also realized that I am Donna and her friends
No.
age.
Ugh. I don't
Yes.
like that.
I know. I really had to. Anyway, but I feel like though this generation digressing back to
these
my
kids,
tangent.
those
This generation,
snappers, get off my lawn.
Dennis the Menace. It's like you got. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, the generation that we have, I feel bad because I used to work in the school system and I saw it then, right? Because we have this, gosh, when I was in elementary, early middle school, I think it was, when they installed No Child Left Behind. And it in Virginia, it produced the SOLs, which is Standards of Learning Tests. And you have to pass these tests in order to get your diploma. Like in elementary school, it's just like, where are you at on the spectrum? Middle school, same thing. High school, it's for diplomas. Okay. And I was never so infuriated by something that got implemented in my life when I was in there, because all we were teaching children to do, and all we're still teaching children to do, because they still have them, is to regurgitate and memorize information. Like, screw free thinking, screw ideology, anything. Just memorize it and produce it on the test so that I look good as your teacher, because sadly, teachers are measured by their job well done, by how many kids pass. And then you're only measured by if you can get a diploma by this test, right? And I think it's absolutely idiotic. We have a generation that knows that, man walked on the moon in 1969, but has no concept of the dreams and visions that got it there.
Or the struggle,
like,
or the path,
there's
and
just
the resistance, and the U-turns, and all of that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gotten, like, that's the thing that I'm saying is, like, and this is what I got from what you were saying, and I mean, this is my interpretation of it, but, like, I feel like you have to be willing to let people fail. You have to be willing to let them fall in their butt. You cannot protect them from the errors that they're making so that they can see the creativity. Because the thing is that in the pathway and their own uniqueness, I have messed up a lot in my life, like personally and in business. And I've told my clients, because I work with, women in business and everything. I'm like, guys, I don't like to use the word fail, because I really don't, because I feel like you only fail if you don't learn something or you quit. That's my thing. But I would say, like, have I tripped? Have I stumbled? Have I made mistakes? Have I made wrong turns? Have I chosen the wrong fork in the road? Sure. I've done all of that, but it doesn't stop me from learning and growing and producing. I wouldn't be doing this today and going on a podcast and risking things if I hadn't messed up every once in a while. Like, and found my flow and found my true guide and my true purpose, really. Like, you have to go through all of these things and scrape up your knees a little bit for you to actually figure out who the heck you actually are.
And I don't think that makes
the whole point.
Negligent, is that the word I want? Neglectful?
No.
Whatever the word is. And I don't think you're being tone deaf, and I don't think it's like just checking out as a parent. I think as humans, we want someone, like, when we are in it and life is sucking and the world is upside down and we are desperate for air, we pray for someone to come save us. We want someone to give us the answer. We want someone to give us the pill. Yeah. Just tell me what to do. I will do it. I can't do this anymore. Right. And so we're so used to other people's morning routines, productivity hacks, the perfect meal plan, the perfect workout program. But no one really teaches us, or at least maybe we weren't ready to realize that what was happening, because we were so attached to just give me the thing with the checklist. I can accept that maybe that might be true. But I felt like no one was teaching me how to think for myself, how to ask myself questions, how to develop the plan for myself. And I was a really crappy business owner for a long time, and a really crappy coach, because while now I'm a high performance coach and I help women get to their next level, unlock their next level without the guilt, the burnout, the shame, the exhaustion, the overwhelm, so they can live this life that they don't need a vacation from. Not saying you shouldn't go on vacation. They are glorious and delicious and adventureful, but one where you don't need it to recalibrate. But for a really long time, I started out in the weight loss world. And so I was handing people recipes and meal plans and workout programs, and I thought I was helping them. But in reality, at the end of the day, if you are relying so hard on being militant and disciplined to someone else's plan that you didn't generate, that weren't fully bought in on, you just wanted the results because you couldn't stand what you had any longer, it had to change. Well, then when lifes and you get a new variable, it all goes out the window. And that's when you have that feeling of like, I fell off the bandwagon. I know what I should do, but I'm not, because it didn't come from in here. It was like an answer to an external thing and with an external thing. And so like I'm no longer in the business of handing out recipe cards. I'm in the business of I want to teach you how to make your perfect cake and build the recipe with whatever ingredients are in front of you today, because the wind's going to blow. Life is always going to life. Like that is the constant. And if we're relying on perfect conditions in order to like get our boat out of the dock, we're never going to go anywhere. And so, like, how do you still get to where you're going when life is lifing? Well, it's by people like Paige and I and you figuring out how to share the lessons and share the thought processes with other people of how we thought about something to get to an outcome, or teaching them like, oh, well, that happened. Well, what do you think could be? Well, what would you have liked instead? What do you think we could have done if you got to redo it? Like teaching people those critical thinking skills so that they can come up with their own plans to get to the results and the outcomes that they want. I think that that is like the gift that we give moving forward, not the answers, but the how to think.
Yeah, and that's exactly like I would say I 100% agree with you. Like I used to be a crappy business owner and a bad coach too. Like, and even though like in my head at the time I was like, I'm bomb.
I am here
like,
to help. I am serving.
I have all
I
these
suffered
credentials
for so long.
And
I want to just give it all to you.
Yes, I want to give you all the answers, and that's the thing that I did. But I mean, I would say like that was what made me a bad business owner, because I couldn't nail down what I was teaching and who I was really trying to help, right? And
Hold
so
on, I need to see your nails.
for me, you know, I went from
They're beautiful.
they're pink. Hold up, like coming back. There we go. I just had them redone anyway. So, but I feel like that's why I was such a bad business owner. I don't think I was a bad coach, because I always go by this philosophy of you don't know what you don't know, right? And I was still in that process of active shifting and growing in my own personal development, but I wasn't aware of the shifting and growing that I was currently undertaking in my own mind until I was like, oh my gosh. And so, yes, now I also, you know, you and I both do high performance coaching, but it's like, and I really have found this passion of helping women get out of that headspace of the overthinking, of the overanalyzing, of the self-sabotaging, and into the body space, which is actually where you find the peace and the calm and the healing from that, because it's not here. And this is my controversial topic of the day, because we had a controversial topic when I was on yours. This is why I have a hard time and I would say a personal problem, because I will caveat this before I say this with, it has its place with talk therapy. And it's because I was a counselor, guys. Like I literally, I was in this space. I did CBT therapy, talk therapy, rapid transformation therapy. And I did all of that. And I believed in it. I was like, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't believe that it worked, right? And I do believe it has a place. It all has a place. However, the reason why so many women, in particular, I feel, get stuck in therapy for years and years and years and years and years is because therapy keeps you here in the headspace of overanalyzing, overthinking, reprocessing, rehashing the problem, and not actually moving into the space that actually heals the issue. And that's, I mean, every woman that I attract, this is a universe thing, but every woman I attract has trauma. And it is because, and it's that self-sabotage and that mental overspinning and thinking in their brain that is the indication for me, because that is a trauma response. And when you go into the body, trauma, whether it's mental, emotional, verbal, physical, it doesn't matter, leaves an imprint on your body physically. And so if you're not willing to go into that space, you cannot move forward from it. bless therapists because they like I said, they all have a place, but they are not trained in that area. They are not trained to go into your body. And everybody knows that I'm woo, and that's me. And I absolutely love it, embrace it. And I used to not be. I used to be all logic centered, all psychology based, all science and chemical brain based and all this other stuff. And I'm so far from that now, it's not even funny. But it is really innately those pieces in our bodies, like the chakra areas and the heart center and your gut, that if you are not aligned in those and they are blocked, is going to, because and science, all my logic thinkers and science will prove that your gut is your second brain. We know this. Like if you're a health coach, you know this. Like stuff you put in your body that you are physically eating and you put into your gut is your second brain. So think of it as, even if it's just if you got to relate to it physically like that, if your gut is not working, your brain is not. If you're not getting the nutrients you need in your stomach, your brain's not working. And so it
When
all
we
has
spend
to
so
flow
much
together
time looking
seamlessly. And when there's a
outside of
block,
us, I believe my philosophy is that we've spent so much time looking outside of us,
yes,
right? From such a young age, it's not right, it's not wrong, it just is. But from such a young age, you fall down,
yes,
you might be bleeding a little bit, you scuffed up your knees, you're screaming bloody murder because your whole body is panicking, right? What does a grown up do? They tell you that you're
yes.
okay. It's okay. Like they're trying to fix it for you. And there's nothing wrong with loving and comforting, but in at the same time, we are being taught that like my body is wrong because on the inside you're like nothing is okay. What do you mean I'm fine? My body says I'm not fine, right? And so like it's like you're like it's throbbing, it's bleeding, it hurts. Like I'm not okay. It scared me. And so maybe that is the evolution piece. Instead of you're okay, it's like that was really scary, wasn't it? I got you. Because we're
Mm-hmm.
learning that like our body's signals are wrong. And then you grow up, and my story was my mom wasn't wrong for this, but my messaging was we would eat dinner and I would say, like, I'm hungry. My mom would be like, there's no way you're hungry. Like, we just had dinner. Now, as an adult, I know that there are many times I'm not hungry that I think I'm hungry because I'm bored, I'm uncomfortable, I'm trying to regulate my nervous system, and food is comforting. Like, there's all these other reasons for why I might think I'm hungry. But back then, it was just another signal of my body was wrong. Someone else knows better than me. It's not okay to have grumbly tummies. That's something to be shameful of, because how many people celebrate that they've been starving for 3 hours and they didn't break? Like, what the hell is that? But our bodies were designed to like thrive and be optimized and to be efficient. And there's all these external things that are working against us. So we think the answers are outside of us when the whole time it has always been in there. You want to beat yourself up because at 3 o'clock you go and grab the stickers and the Diet Coke. Well, if you take a step back, your body is just, what is it actually doing? The reason you're reaching for the Snickers is your body is signaling to you that we're low on energy. Well, where does energy come from for the body? It comes
Mm-hmm.
from fiber filled carbs. So they can break down into ATP that your body can then use to have energy and cognitive function to get through the rest of the day. And then when you're like, oh, well, if that's the case, well, then I could have a sweet potato and chicken. I could have a sandwich. I could go get a banana and some eggs. Or like I could actually have a small little meal, give my body what it's asking for now that I understand what it's trying to do. Stop hating it for having the munchies and eating another Snickers bar that I didn't need, and then hitting the drive-through on the way home because it only lasted 30 minutes and I'm still starving, and then eat my dinner on top of that because I just made it and it was healthy, to undo all the things that I just ate trying to get to this moment, right? And so like our bodies, when we start to pause and slow down to listen, they're telling us a lot of things that no one really taught us how to listen to and decipher. And so I'm really
Mm-hmm.
big on, that was a really long tangent. I'm really big on becoming the scientist of my own life. So like all of my degrees are in like biology, biochemistry. I worked at Johns Hopkins and the National Institute of Health, and I was a nuclear chemist for 12 years, keeping your lights on at a power company. And so like I'm very science minded, but at the end of the day, if we all go back to like ninth grade chemistry class, all science is grabbing a notebook, writing down a question that we called a hypothesis, running some experiments, changing the variables, collecting the data, and then making a conclusion. And so I really do feel like when we start to do that for ourselves, we start to understand our own intuition and what our body's telling us, and that allows us to get out of our head because we've made that connection between our brain and our body. And for me, that superpower was unlocked when I learned how to become an intuitive. I taught myself how to be an intuitive eater because I was like, nothing's working, but I got to figure it out. So I started just asking myself that simple question of, well, how do I want to feel later? And that changed how I started eating, or how I stopped eating, because it was like, actually, it doesn't matter if someone told me this was good or bad. If I want to have energy later, if I don't want to be bloated or gassy later, well, that's not the option for me. I would actually prefer to go eat this. And it completely changed my life and unlocked that superpower you and I have been kind of dancing around, which is my intuition. And now I no longer stand in a
Mm-hmm.
room and we all get that feeling where something's not right. And we're like, we're being dramatic. I'm being sensitive. I'm overthinking this. No, that's your body
Yeah.
saying something's not right. And so, like, the power of that pause to observe, to figure out what isn't right and addressing it is like such a gift. And if we can teach other people how to tune into that rather than telling them what to do, I think that's how we save the world.
Well, I absolutely
You don't
agree
have to.
because
It's okay if you
I
don't.
mean, even getting, no, I do agree because I do agree. And every time you mention that you were like like in
Chemist.
nuclear physics, all this, I'm like, you don't, whatever. I can't, I'm not science. You know that. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, this doesn't even feel like Tiffany. I'm like, because this
Who is
person,
she?
but no, but I agree with the intuition and stuff. And for me, it's like yours is like food related, and I love that because that was like your, I would say your first part of your life, you know. But I think that like we do that too with people. You know, we point fingers or we justify externally, because that's my experience for stuff. Is like, you know, I had a lot of you know, narcissists in my life and things like that, and so I got in the habit of not necessarily blaming them for my problems, but just blaming them in general for like, oh, this is why my brain works this way, or this is why this, you know, this is why I've come to this conclusion. And really, and somebody I was talking to on one of the other podcast episodes was saying this perfectly, and I absolutely loved what she said was, you know, it's not our fault that we have been exposed to a society and the way of life in Western civilization that literally preaches to us to be the victim of our life, because we do. And I've always hated that word victim because I don't like it. And, you know, people who have been listening to this, you know that I've had trauma. You know that I've had a quote unquote like victim, you know, something has happened to me that you would say, oh, I'm a victim of this situation, right? And I've always hated that because it made me feel weak, right? And I never liked that. And so having it be like, okay, well, this is, and she said, this is not to give it an excuse. Like, this is not to give it a label or a thing that of like, oh, society has made you feel this way, so therefore you are okay feeling this way. It was more along the lines of, bring this knowledge in and know that like you are not a victim of your situation. You get to now be empowered to choose of how you show up every
Yeah, it
single
gets
day.
to just be data points.
And that was
It gets to
what,
be data points about like what you want, what you don't want, where your lines in the sand are. Like, I don't think that there's anything. Are there some things in my life that were absolutely atrocious that I would never wish on anyone? Like the most foul person in the world? Absolutely, there are. And at the same time, like it has helped develop things that I don't know that I would have learned otherwise, of where my lines in the sand were or what those feelings really meant. And you could take that conversation both ways of, well, you should have never known what that feeling was if it was all sunshine and rainbows. And I'm just not in that place of, I feel like something happened when I turned 40 this year, Paige, where like all of a sudden, all of the puzzle pieces I didn't know I was collecting for a picture I didn't know was getting built, like where I wasn't given the final, you know, like when you get a puzzle, the box has the picture on it. And so you have something to work towards. I didn't know I was getting puzzle pieces, yet alone what we were building, but it was like all of a sudden I could see where all the dots were connecting and why all these side quests all of a sudden made sense, because it literally has developed the skills and the trust and the connections and everything that is required of me right now in this season. And so I'm going through some hard things, and people think I'm nuts because I celebrate the hard. I'm like, I am so excited because this is hard, and I'm crying and I'm frustrated and I don't really know what to do or where I'm going wrong, but like I am so excited because wherever I'm going that I don't know is coming is going to require flexibility, adaptability, and resilience in a way that I have never needed before. And there's no way that this isn't playing a piece in something that I can't see yet. And like, so I am so excited by the challenge. And like, I know that that is weird for some people, but like, how can it not be true when everything I've experienced to this date suddenly makes sense because I need those skills right now in what I'm doing?
Well, I think that I really relate to that, because last year was my challenging year. My last year was my like, what the heck is happening kind of year, and it was like my personal growth year. That was my 40th birthday year, and I was like, I felt off from my birthday's in December, for those of you that don't know, but I felt very like from the first day of January of 2024, I was like, something is not right. And it was a challenge, and it was like a metamorphosis really of like, burn this crap to the ground and start over. At the first part of it, because it was so challenging emotionally, because that was when, my mom passed away. I didn't see it then, but then when I hit like June, July, when I started to kind of come back up to the surface, I feel like, and things were challenging, I felt the exact same way. I was like, it's okay, like, that this is challenging, because I know that at the other end of this, I'm going to get clarity, and I'm going to get purpose, and I'm going to find all the things. And I was talking to another woman yesterday on the podcast. I was interviewing her, and she said, did you know that this is your year? And she was using astrology and numerology and all these things on me, and I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, I feel it, that this is like, I feel like there's a huge shift for me, because this is where I really started to work with women in a different way, in the way that I have needed to see. Because this is basically, I took every personal growth component that I have done on myself for the last 16 years. And instead of it going like, oh, this is just stuff that I've done, and this is just stuff that people have given me in my own personal coaching, resources, or this is just stuff that I just knew, like I brushed it off. I was doing the story thing like I did with the podcast. And, I was just like, I was downplaying every freaking thing that I knew. And I was like, why did I take those certification courses? Why did I go to this apprenticeship? Why am I like hiring these specific people to learn from? Because that's what I feel like when you hire a coach, even if it's for personal development, even if it's for weight loss, even if it's for whatever it is, you're hiring them for them to teach you the thing that they know
And
that you don't know. So it's sort of like,
sometimes what you think you hired them for was not the lesson that the universe was teaching you.
it never is to me. Like, I literally hire people going into this relationship going like, this is what I want. Like, my gut is telling me to hire you. But like, for example, like my shaman, I had no freaking clue while I was hiring her. When I hired her, I just knew. So I went into the apprenticeship, the shaman apprenticeship, for last year. I'm going on to year 2 soon, June, I think. But I started working with her 1-to-1, which was not part of the plan. It was not part of the idea. And I just knew, she asked me to get on a 1-on-1 call with her because I needed to catch up on some of the notes, because I had missed the first session because I signed up for the apprenticeship literally like the week before it started. So I couldn't get on a plane to get to Kansas City because I was not physically able to do it, because we were also going to Mexico at the same time. Like, it was just not going to work. So I got on a call with her to get caught up. And then when I got off the call with her, I was like, I feel like I need to schedule another call with this woman, because There's something I need to do. And I didn't know what it was, right? But I knew I needed to learn from her something. I always know it's something that I'm supposed to learn. I never put like a label on it, but I always know I'm supposed to draw from it. And it wasn't until I started to go like, why am I downplaying every freaking thing that I know, everything that I have paid into, all the reps that I've done, like quote unquote, and not delivering this system that I have literally worked on myself, on my one-to-one clients. And I feel like all my one-to-one clients are like guinea pigs. Like I keep trying all these things and it works. And it always works because I always like do it on myself first. And then it's like, oh, okay, let me try it on them. And stepping into this women's group that I've created now, it's like, this is all the magic goodness that I'm like, blending the two together of my two worlds. Like I had a logic world, and I know that there is a bonus in being in the logic. There's a bonus in being in your mind space when it's done in the right ways. And then there's this amazing magic that happens when you're actually in your body. And it's like you have to put the two together because they all have to work. And it's not and it's like for me when I first started talking about this, I even did it for you.
We don't live in the astral plane, and so we can't just be only being. There has to be action and tangible pieces associated with the being.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be this fusion of goodness, I feel like. And that's why I said that I've been telling my women lately, like, I used this analogy the other day and I absolutely loved it. And so now I'm kind of just using it all the time, is we create storms in our body because of trauma. And we store them and we can't see them until they're ready to come out in emotional bursts of energy. Because at some point they just come out. They can only get but so big in your body. But they never completely dissipate because you don't allow them to exit your body in the way that you need to. It's like purging your body of this big emotion, and you're purging it because your husband left socks on the floor. And I always use that. I'm sorry if my husband's listening to this, but I apologize. But I yell at him because he's leaving socks on the floor. Or like or I don't do this now because I feel so much more centered, but like I would yell at him for leaving socks on the floor. I'd yell at him for not taking out the trash or whatever. Or like I'd yell at some random person in traffic who cut me off. Like all of these things, but that's not when I'm supposed to be releasing it. I'm supposed to be releasing it when I'm feeling the way that I needed to feel to release the traumatic event. And that's different than when you're just releasing it in random bursts and it's not intentional. And when you can actually release it when it's intentional in your body and you feel it where it is, that's the only way to clear it out of your system. Otherwise, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And it's this like constant, like, honestly, shithole of a thing, and you can't get rid of it. It's like when you're constantly feeling like you have a tightness in your chest or nausea in your stomach or chronic headaches and migraines. It's the same thing. Your body's telling you have not released the thing you're supposed to release. And that's when I started to tie chakras to it, it just gave me such a sense of like purpose, because there is meaning behind that. Like your intuition in your thought processes when you had like your headaches or your like you're not having a heart attack, you're having, in your heart, like you're hurting. This is a feeling area, like you've been betrayed, or you're feeling, lost, or you're feeling like you're gutted. And then it's like in your sacral area, it's like where's your root, where's your like if you don't trust yourself, the gut is a very big trust. Like if you're not trusting yourself and you're nauseous all the time, or you can't eat the right things, maybe you're craving the wrong things. It's the same thing that I kept thinking to myself, is like from the outside in, right? Like we don't need the Snickers. We need to go in and go like, where am I depriving myself? Where am I not trusting myself? Where am I not serving me? And that's exactly that
what
question.
Needs are not being met? What is this really about?
Yeah. It's like that Ted Lasso. I love that. I have it on my other water bottle. The be curious, not judgmental. I love that.
So can I share with you a framework that I have been noodling with, trying to lock it together?
Yeah, huh?
So I have this.
Always. Oh my gosh, you have a whiteboard?
I will have this one too, but that one has all of my brain. Like I have been in pure innovation mode over here. So like I sit in the sunroom And so all of my windows are basically have turned into whiteboards. There is stuff everywhere. If I could paint my walls with whiteboard paint and just turn my house into a giant whiteboard, I'm pretty sure that that's what I would do. But that seems obsessive. So I have this, I've been trying to.
I'm like throwing stuff everywhere now because you're okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Noodling. I feel like it took me 3 years to figure this out, and maybe someone else already has this model and had already put it together, and I just hadn't experienced it yet for it to make sense. But I call it this rainbow bridge framework, and maybe it'll have a new name. I don't know. How do I hold on this way? So we have a rainbow.
Hold on, can I gotta pause for a second. Can I pause for just a second? I know this is gonna be amazing. What? Do you know why? Did you hear me gasp for a second? Okay, so I literally I know this has nothing to do with your framework. I'm absolutely positive it's a little different, but in my shaman apprenticeship, my homework for the last 2 months has been that I'm supposed to do this meditation called Rainbow Bridge. I'm not even lying. Like, seriously. So, and it's, okay, so hold up. I did it this morning for the first time because I haven't done it yet. So this is going to be amazing and sparkly and magical. Anyway.
Well, I have been, let me share this part first. I have been in this weird vortex where I'm trying to not make peace. I'm at peace, but I've been trying to figure out where I am versus where I was versus where I'm going. And cause there's so much overlap, right? As you go around the tornado up, there's some overlap as you're ascending, right? You're still going in circles. And I have literally been trying to jam everything that I know now to work in the whole picture. But that's just not how it works. You can't transfer every part of your knowing to someone who hasn't evolved to the certain steps yet. There are phases. And so I had this epiphany that I was okay, what are the phases, Tiff? Because I think you got to meet people where they are or it doesn't land and it doesn't make sense. And I've just been trying to skip too many steps. And so I feel the 3 phases are over here. There's something, it's everything. All of your answers are external to you. You are learning about dieting. You're learning about business. You're learning about funnels. You're learning about relationships. Something is off and something outside of you, someone else has the answers. So in phase 1, everything is external. And then this magical moment happens where you've entered the rainbow and it is magical and bright and you just learn and appreciate how to be. You just are. You are who you are. You be. Your life is magical, even if you're still working on things, even if everything isn't picture perfect to someone else's standards, your health, your relationships, your career and relationship with money, you just are. And it is the everyday almost feels like you're in a movie and there's a camera crew hiding in the bushes because you cannot imagine that this is your life. It feels too good to be true. And that is I've been here for a minute. And
I've been there too.
Challenges that I'm having is that I have really big goals and I'm a very ambitious person. It's why I was so so successful when I lived in the external world where everything's outside of me, right?
Agree. I did the same thing.
We want to think that all of those accolades and all of that worthiness stuff was negative, but there's so much skill development that happens even if you're doing it because you just want someone's approval. It doesn't matter. There's so much skill development and there's so much success in that. Well, once you be and you still have all of these dreams, I'll draw them as clouds and stars and swirly doos, your dreams and hopes and drawings.
I need to get a Care Bear. I need you to wear a Care Bear hat situation.
My poo out if you want. That's a different thing.
I like Winnie the Pooh.
But you're being, you still have all these, if you're a high achieving, ambitious person, that doesn't go away. So now it's how do I push?
No.
How do I extend my container? How do I push beyond myself without going backwards to where I came? Because while I was successful, there's some things I don't want to be anymore. There's some energies I don't want to live in anymore. And
No,
so like
I
where I
agree.
am now is how do is expansion. And so like how do I expand into this new place without picking up the backpacks that got me, that I've used in the past, the ones that I left on these benches. And obviously, I'm still working out those things, but I think those are the three phases, that everything's external. You learn how to be, and you see all the ways that like were serving you, but you no longer want to live, and that you just, everything is magical. And then you get to this place where phase three is like, okay, how do I stay present here without falling back into this trap while expanding? And I don't know, I'm still working on this, but, and I'm in that expand
So
space of how
I
do I maintain expansion without going back into the external.
so that's I would say I'm over there as well. But I would say so when you were speaking, I love your visual representation with clouds. Um but I would tell you that for me those three phases are like the external side. I agree with like external, internal, and then like expansion. Like I definitely agree with that. But I feel like the question words for me was like how was in the external, because this is where I focused on like how do I do this? How do I make how, and I was all up here and not present like I'm doing in the B, right? Like when I'm being. And then my expansion side is more just the do. Because I feel like, at least for me, when I've been in my B phase, I'm just, if I focus on how, like, how do I do this? I go back into my logic, like my external senses start to kick back on and start to create this space of like the lists and the hows and like, you know, worrying about all these things. Like if we're going to go into the business framework side of things, like the marketing, the wording, the messaging, right? But then if I'm in my B state and I'm just being present in my own good sugary goodness of the rainbow, right? Then I'm not worrying about those things. I'm just existing in that space. So then it's more about just taking this person into the action state of the doing and showing up in that place. That's how it
And
is for
yes,
me. Because if I go into the how, I can't
yes,
logically
yes.
go there.
And the piece that I'm still noodling is, for me, I feel like there is a trap door with like the landslide back five worlds in Mario Brothers to the external. If I'm learning how to do from the place of being without the do, because how do I explain, how do I want to articulate this? My biggest fear right now is that I could accomplish a lot of my goals right now, and I could get them a lot faster if I were to leverage some of who I used to be. But those are identity markers that I don't want to
Yeah.
carry anymore. Right? She was really successful, but I believe that the skills that she developed will serve me now. I just need to learn how to do them in a new way without going back. I see the articulation part here. I think you understand what I'm saying. So, like taking the skills, moving them
Yeah.
forward from the new identity without all the baggage and things, because like you can do a lot of stuff under pressure, but I don't want to live in pressure anymore. Not that
Yeah.
I think the world should be easy. This stuff is hard. It's why we all come to Earth. It's why our souls are here, is to learn school. And I think that,
Yeah.
and
I
for
like
me, it
school.
really is like, how do I do without collapsing under pressure, creating so much pressure that I can't function and I'm miserable and I lead myself back to burnout. And so like I've been successful up to this point, but I'm being called to expand at a new level of doing that. And so like I can help you get to a
Yeah.
certain level, but like I'm going to have to experience this next mega level in order to like help that next batch of people expand into their mega levels.
Well, that's literally where I'm at. Like I feel like we've been paralleling since we met, I feel
It's
like,
not
in the
an
last 5
accident.
months, because we both had, no, it's not. It's definitely not an accident. But I feel like I'm at the same situation where I'm literally like, we're a part of the same networking community. And we were just talking before we got on here, like going like, I'm not doing that, even though he's
Like,
telling me to
I'm
do
sure,
this
I
thing.
know that will
Sorry for
be
listening.
successful. It does, like, if it's not a hell yes in my
It
body,
doesn't feel good.
then it's a
And
no.
then it's a no for me. Yes. If it's not a hell fucking yes, like I'm not even going to apologize for that word, because it's got to be that way, then it's not for me. And I've gotten to that point, and I've realized, and this is why I started working with women, is I had to go so far away from the male energy for a while.
And not that male energy is bad. We all
Because
have our
that's,
places. Like, can we,
yes,
I just want to make
we love the
sure
male
that, like,
energy.
I don't, like, men are getting a
No,
lot
we
of
love male energy. And if
men are
you
getting
are
a
a
lot of
woman,
unnecessary hate right now, and I just am not here for that.
no, I agree. I agree. And I have been very conscientious on this podcast of saying we love men, because we do. But it is, and I will say this too, women who have tapped into their male energy, nothing wrong with that either.
I
But
was, let me tell you, I was very successful in it.
I was too. I was very in it. I just would like to, what I'm speaking to is that everybody has their own limits with it. And when you are a female and you're tapping into your male energy, it can be very, and that's what I mean by male, my, like, being close to the male energy, right? Nothing to do with the external physical male. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's the male energy I was tapping into that was becoming toxic for me, because I was not leaving space for any feminine energy, because I was operating on such a different heightened level, right? And I think that that's what I've been realizing, is that a lot of the women in business that I work with, they're all doing that. And then and I'm sure you can see some of it, is they're hitting the burnout faster. They're hitting all of these things. And it's like,
It's
because you're
the
not
whole
balanced. You
reason
have to be
I created the
balanced.
Modern Woman Society, is because the modern woman, she is ambitious and she's courageous and she believes in abundance and she believes that there is room for everyone to win. It's why so many women self-sacrifice and drag people along, because they know that there is more for them and if they could just help them. But what we didn't have before, that I believe we're stepping into now, is this, like, oh, let me learn how to take care. If I rise, then all ships rise. If I rise and I show the way, not tell the way, not drag the way, but if I pave the path for people to follow behind me, well, then it makes their journey a whole lot easier. And that is how we all win. And so it's not about playing small, and it's not about aggressively taking up space and owning, like, it doesn't have to be any of that. And when you learn how to create harmony and define for yourself what success looks like in your health, in your relationships, in the way you earn money, all of a sudden your whole life is in alignment. And it doesn't matter how full the calendar is, because it fills your cup and you are full and you're alive and you're doing everything that you
Yeah.
want in this world. And so, like, that's how you avoid burnout. And when you, one of those cups, I learned the hard way, when we think that we can, they tell us, all of the experts say you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. And what a load of shit. Like, you can have it all at the same time if you're intentional and someone teaches you how to do it. But, like, if you don't know what it all is for you, how are you supposed to do it at the same time? Because everyone wants to talk about the sacrifices that you have to make. I don't feel, you might look at me and think I'm sacrificing something, but my destination is a different place. It's not better, it's not worse. They're just different. And how I get there is going to be different. And so, like, if I'm always driving in my life GPS towards my destination, well, it's not a sacrifice when I say no thank you to something, because I'm making the choice from, like, my hell yes or no. And that gets to change by the day. And so teaching people those skills and those habits and how we do this, I truly, truly, Paige, believe that this is how we save humanity. Because if we can help more women clear the mental clutter and the mental load, where everything becomes
Mm-hmm.
a more simple yes, no to where they're going, well, then we don't have to keep things on the back burner. We don't have to keep track of that. And now we're empowering other people to do the same. And when you step into your light, when you step into your love, when you are living your life at the highest vibrations and it's effortless, people want a part of that. They're watching what you do, not doing what you tell them to. And I don't know where I was going with that, but like that is the difference. I
You
really
got
did,
very
because the
fired up, and
reason
I
I
loved
burnt
all of
out
it.
wasn't because I was working too hard. It was because my destination and my core values changed, and I never changed the GPS settings. And so like I was all in at work or all in on my health, but something was always failing because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to have capacity for it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we had this conversation yesterday on the group call, and I said, I was talking. We did a breakout room, and I was talking to, um, Rachel in the group, and I'm not going to share personal details of the conversation, but basically, like the overall from my perspective was, I said that what I was going to work on is that I'm going to work on the one thing that feels good right now, because it feels overwhelming when you're trying to look at the list. And that was my suggestion for her as well. Is like, when you're feeling this state of overwhelm, what's the one thing you really want to work on and grow from your personal perspective? And for me, I think a couple years ago, because I'm growing three things at one time right now. I'm growing the podcast. I'm launching all this retreat stuff that I've been doing, and I will continue to do retreats. I'm really, even though like this was my first one that I'm doing it next week. Stay tuned for that update. And it's just doing it next week. And then, the women's group in general, the online group, it's like it all goes together, and it's all like seamless for me, and it doesn't feel
It's
overwhelming
all in
because it all
alignment.
feels really good. Exactly. And so that's what I feel like a lot of people, because when I first tried to balance, it was almost like a complete shutdown. This was last year. Like I shut it down. Like I had felt overwhelmed with everything I was constructing for a while. And it wasn't until when my mom passed away and I had to shut everything down that I was like, I've got to shut it all down. Like, not just like take a break from the work to deal with the funeral. Like, I got to burn this shit to the ground and start over. Right. And it wasn't a negative for me. I was just like, screw it. I have savings. I'm just going to do it. Right. And I will tell you, like, I've hit the point where everything feels so aligned and so good. And I know that it's all coming together now. And it coincidentally coincided with the bank account needing to grow back up again. But it was just like, I'm not even stressed about it. Like, I'm not stressed about the money. I'm not stressed about it because I know that it's going to come, because
It already exists. It's
it
just a
feels good.
matter of it's
It
already
alrea's
exists.
there. It's just getting it in the flow of where
For
I am.
me,
And
it's like
that's
for
and
me the
that's
thing I
my
yeah.
own
I was gonna
personal
say for
flow.
me the thing is like I already know it exists. It's a matter of my
Yes.
skills developing and the timeline catching up. I just don't know what that timeline is yet. And so like I just heard you were sharing about like what
Well,
feels
we could talk about
good,
timeline all
what
all
feels
freaking
good
day.
for you right now. I just heard this on, I think I was on Instagram. I heard Rachel Hollis say someone had mentioned given her the advice of if you only had this 1 hour to work on your future dream, what would you work on right now? And for her, she had always, back then when she first got that advice, she always wanted to be an author. And so she would spend the little bit of time that she had doing the research and seeing how other people were doing it. Well, if you want to be an author, what do you need? You need words on a page. And so that was the only thing she would work on, was if I only have this hour, if I'm going to be a writer and publish a book, well, what do I need? I need to write. And so it allowed her to like reframe what the act, we always talk about needle moving activities. what the activity she needed to focus on was. And so that's something that I've been thinking about, where it's like, okay, if I really only had 1 hour this month to move my business forward and to help the Modern Woman Society grow from 5 to 500, what do I need to work on? And I don't exactly know what that one item
Yeah.
is, but that's the way I'm thinking about it. And then from that place of alignment, how do I, is this going to be a constant against my will? Because that's not going to work for me. I won't show up and do it. No one wants to feel like they're in trouble in doing chores. No one wants to do chores. But so
No.
how,
It's all about
yeah.
what
So
feels
if that's
good.
what I need to do, what do I need to do within that realm that is going to feel good to help me get to where I'm going? Because when I was running marathons and stuff, no one wants to do a 17-mile run to train. You don't want to do it, but it's still required. It's still the thing that you need to do to get to your goals. And so you just find ways.
I know. I only did a half marathon, but
But
ugh.
then from that point, you're like, oh, what is my goal? Well, if that's my goal, well, then of course I want to do this. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Am I going to be sore? Absolutely. Am I going to have to pep talk myself? Maybe phone a friend, call my mom and ask her why I think I'm nuts. Why did I think I could do this? 1,000,000% yes. But I will keep putting one foot in front of the other, because that is the thing, right? That is the needle moving activity. And so I don't know who needed to hear that nugget today, but I felt really called to cut you off and throw that in there. Um,
No, I love you can cut me off anytime. I am totally fine. I think that it's really about, like, for me it's just been finding the stuff that doesn't feel gross in my body. Like it just boils down to that simplistic ask of, like, what do I not want to do versus what I'm getting excited about every single day to do. And yes, there are things that, like, you should or shouldn't do, or, like, that you have to do, like, but I think the vast majority of those things are choices to make, like, if you are a businesswoman and you're listening to this and you're like, I hate social media posts, you don't have to freaking do social media posts to grow a business. You don't.
and there's
Like,
enough examples to show
the
you.
coaches out there telling you, yeah, the coaches out there feeding you that lie is because they want your money, but it's like, it's not true. If you'd rather write an email or do a vlog post or capitalize on a YouTube channel, I mean, you can totally do that. Like, you don't have to, whatever that looks like for you, right? And if you would rather just go on incessant podcasts and get interviewed and, like, showcase yourself that way, you can do that as well. Like, you don't have to show up in any specific way, because if you're showing up in a way that doesn't feel good, whether this is business or personal or whatever, it's going to show, and you're going to end up going like, holy crap, this sucks. And it's just not going to work, whatever it is, right? Like, if you're showing up at a gym, as an example, to lose weight, and you hate the people at your gym, it's not going to work, because you're not going to want to go. You're not going to want to show up. You're not going to want to be there for yourself. If you're showing up every day at a gym that you love, like I do, I mean, I freaking love my gym. I don't care. Like, I died nearly this week because they had I go to Orange Theory, shameless plug, but, maybe they can sponsor me at some point. They'll just keep talking about Orange Theory. It was like, we had to run up hills, and Monday was Orange Theory's birthday, so we had to run up hills and do rows and do all these things because they like to torch you on their birthday. And then, like, the next day was the mile run. Like, it was a benchmark mile run to see how fast you can run the mile in. And I hit a PR. I didn't want to. I freaking came back from a cruise like 2 days prior to that. I didn't want to run a mile. Like, that was, like, absolutely horrible, but I loved doing it with the people I was doing it with. Like, that was the thing. Like, so I think that that's really a thing, is, like, if you, like, because, like I said, there's stuff in your business you have to do. Like, there's stuff that you have to do that you're not going to get around. Like, just because if you want to have a business, these are things you have to do. But it's like
you're gonna have
creating
to
the
have
environment around it that
leads,
makes you happy.
and you're gonna have clients. How you get them, there's 1,000,001 ways to do it, right? But you're gonna have to show up in the actions that get you those things.
Exactly. And I made a commitment to myself the other day to do, like, okay, social posts. I actually don't dislike doing social posts. I don't like doing written content. I would prefer video, which is sort of why I started doing the podcast in the first place. This was my dream to do this, because it became the dream, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can repurpose all this content. I just got to have a freaking hour conversation with one of my favorite people. This is easy. Like, hello. Like, I'd rather do this every single day of the week, right, than freaking write a novel about my life that nobody's gonna flip and read. Like, I'll do short form content all the time, but I'd rather do this. And so I made a commitment to myself to do social. I also made my commitment to do podcasts, because I also like to go on podcasts to be interviewed, because it's fun for me, again, to have these kinds of conversations. And then it's also easy for me to write an email. I have no problem writing an email. Like, if I'm doing a weekly email, that's not a problem. It's the issue of showing up on social every day, trying to figure out what the hell to say that's going to be inventive, like, puts, like, too much fucking pressure on me. If I'm doing one a week where I'm like, oh, cool, let's just diary about my life and all these interesting people that I just had conversations with on the podcast, cool, I can do that. But it's like, that's the stuff that actually makes me feel good about showing up in the morning, versus, oh, I got to figure out how to, like, diary my life on Facebook. And like, no, I don't want to do that.
Generation, and you are creative, and reels and TikToks are your thing. Leverage them. What do you enjoy doing? And like, for me, I enjoy peopling. And so, like, the podcast is really, really valuable for me, because I get to develop deep, meaningful connections and relationships with people intentionally. So it's intentional networking for me, growing my network, growing my audience, growing my email list. And for me, I feel like I'm giving long before I even know if there's anything for me to offer. And so, like, that feels really good for me.
Yes.
And then I just get to then go show up on social media instead of worrying about my converting content. For me, I just get to show up as Tiffany and share what I'm doing. And I like that. I like, just that feels good for me. And so in this season, like, that's how I'm growing. And I'm hosting in-person events where, like, I'm bringing people together, because I want everyone to win. I want people to have friends who understand their ambitions, celebrate their wins, hold space on the hard days, not to fix them or feel like they have to drag everyone along. Like, but to create that sense of community where we all get to win together. And like, I have been so much more innovative since then. Like, because it's like, okay, if I love peopling and I want everyone that I've connected with to win, well, the people I'm hanging out with right now, and the people who are a subset of high performers or ambitious women, well, they're speakers, they're coaches, they're authors, they're business people, entrepreneurs. Well, what are they looking for? They're looking for opportunities to be seen. They want visibility. So I have the podcast. I just launched the Futurist Female Summit series. And so we're going to have a leadership summit, a health and wellness summit, and a wealth summit. And so, like, that's me feeding the people that I've been so blessed to connect with as a way to help them win. And so I just think it's so freaking cool. And that wouldn't work for someone else. That's not someone else's personality. Like, they want to go make TikToks, and it works for them. And so learning, it's a lot of discovery. And I love the full circle we just brought it back to getting into your body, trying things, figuring out what you like, figuring out what you don't, and leaning in and learning how to, like, work within your, like, achieve your dreams and your goals within your, like, joy zone. Never said that before, but that's pretty accurate. Like, your joy zone.
I love all this new terminology we're just giving you today. Like, all these, like, new. Why do you think I've been looking down for part of this freaking podcast? Writing stuff down. You want to know what's really
funny? Is this whole time I hear you, but your mouth is like a solid 20 seconds behind. And so, like, I haven't noticed.
I'm sorry. Well, here's the thing. So
circle that here's the thing. At the end. I love when that happens.
Well, and I absolutely love that. And that was the thing, like, so for those of you who are getting this recording, you're going to see my mouth and it's going to be fine. We hope. Because it's recording on my screen. I hope. If not, just listen to the audio if it's annoying you. But yeah, it's no, I love the full circle, and you know, we might chop this into 2 episodes, or we might just keep it the same. Both. I don't know. Because it was just a really good I could talk to Tiffany for like 5 hours.
Dude, I
Like
want to
that's just the
talk.
reality of
Like,
the
I don't
situation.
care about the weather. I don't care about those things. But like, you want to talk about how the world works and your soul and like your thoughts. Like, we can go for 5 hours. I am here for it, and I am like, I will wear my tin hat with you.
Well, I love you. I love that you said 10 hat. But I was, so this was the other thing. Like she is like 100% real with that, and I think that that's the same thing for me. Like if somebody's going to say like I would like to talk about the world or talk about your feelings or talk about what's going on with you in your world inside of your body, that you're like kind of like I need to express this thing to come out, because Monday was a bad day for me. And I texted Tiffany, and Tiffany's like, I'm going to get you on a FaceTime call. And I was like, no. and and it was because it was one of those things like I could not articulate where I was at that moment. And she sends me this photo of her like kind of like giving me a stink eye of like, where are you? I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to give you a virtual hug. I just wanted you
to see my face so you knew you weren't alone. We don't have to talk about it. I don't actually want to go down the spiral you're in with you, but I just wanted you to know that like you don't have to if you don't want to. We can stay up here in the suck. You don't have to go down to the bottom. Like we could stay right here.
But yeah, and that was the thing. And I will say this though in conclusion, because I will say this is why I'm bringing this up with the whole body experience and tying it all back into a nice little bow, is that the spiral that I was sort of hitting on Monday was like just the tip, right? It was just the tip of the potential tornado that could have sucked me all the way down, right? And probably a year ago, it would have sent me down into this like rabbit hole of my brain, into the overthinkingness, into the nasty, into the, and it would have derailed me for a week or more. Like back in the day, I would say over a year ago now, like probably 3 years ago. And it didn't. Like I gave myself a little pity party situation in this, in what it was. And I've also learned to ask when I need help or if I need to be seen. And honestly, I know I didn't answer the phone, but like seeing your face on the photo was great, and I laughed, and it was perfect, and I needed it, and it was great. But what I'm saying is that for people that feel like they don't have an out of this overthinking brain, it sucks. I understand it. I empathize with it because I've been there. And the anxiety and the panic, and you're just in this like upper mind space. Like we both hear you, we both see you, we both feel you, but you don't have to stay there. Like that's what I would like everybody to take away from this, is that you do not have to stay in that spiral, even though it feels like it's impossible to escape, or this is going to be the life that you have and this is what it is. Because that's how I felt until I started to realize that that's just a piece, and you can go and you can heal all the other pieces. And then slowly but surely, all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, it's quiet up there. There is no spiral anymore. And it just feels really, really good to be able to get into your body and know what is true and what's not. Like, you know, the truth versus reality situation. So anyway, but I love talking to you. I want to just talk to you forever. So you're welcome. And we'll just figure out if this is going to be a 2-parter or 1-parter. But I think that it's this was really cool. I liked the tangents we went on. I hope everybody followed our squirrel brains, but this is how we have daily conversations.
This is the real behind the scene conversations that people are doing, that are doing some epic stuff in this world. They have. And so welcome to the party. This is what they look like. Yeah. I would love.
Welcome to the party.
I want to make friends. If you're listening, I want to be your friend. So come follow me on Instagram. I'm a millennial at heart. I love Facebook. But either way, it's the Tiffany Sims. If you are looking to an hour back in your day, I can help you do that as soon as tomorrow. Just DM me the word time, TIME, and I'll send you over a little resource that I have with my 3 best time hacks to help you master that skill so that you can go live the life of your dreams. Because like you heard me say earlier, like we get one chance. We're not supposed to just sit on the beach and be nothings, but like life isn't supposed to feel like that either. It's not supposed to be heavy. It's not supposed to be this hard. You shouldn't need a vacation from your day every day. And so come be friends, come say hi.
Okay. Tiffany's an amazing friend. And if you are listening on a podcast audio, please make sure you're following me on my YouTube channel. The Unspoken Truth is the same as the podcasting name, made it easy for everybody. And we'll put all of Tiffany's contact information inside of the YouTube channel link as well. So go follow her. Be friends with her. She's an amazing person. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.